the Center for Spiritual Living right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. My name is Tomoko Rosas, and I'm a practitioner at this beautiful spiritual community. Join me in stating our purpose statement. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of mind. Thank you all for joining us today in person and also online. Before we get started, we have some announcements. Happy Lunar New Year to all of our Asian friends out there. It's the year of the rabbit, so I don't really know what that means, but I'm sure it's a good year. We'll just claim it to be a good energizer. Yeah. So today is our annual membership meeting and potluck. So please stay if you're a voting member. We'll be talking about the business of the church and what's ahead and what we're planning. So if you can, please stay. And Exploring the Roots of Science of Mind class on Wednesday nights is starting this week. It's on the 25th at 6:30 to 9:30. So if you are thinking about joining, please let me know so I can prepare your curriculum for you. And midweek guided meditation is back this Wednesday as well at 6 p.m. to 6:30. If you can join us, please do so. It's free to all. It's open to the public. Would you like to take your spiritual practices to a deeper level? Join our workshops, classes, and meditation sessions, and we're always gathering new groups to start a discussion group or classes. So if you're interested in something like that, just please let me know. If you need clarity of your path, we have beautiful practitioners here. They're wonderful. And grab one of them and work with them, and they're available for you. The last thing is that we need your help with our slogan. The most vote received was God works through me in 2023. But we did have 2 entries at the last minute, so we're going to use applause for what we're going to choose. So let me just read it just to let you know what they are. So God works through me in 2023. Peace begins with you and me in 2023. And peace begins with me in 2023. So let's go with the first one first. God works through me in 2023. How about peace begins with you and me in 2023? Okay. Peace begins with me in 2023. Okay, it's no brainer. Okay, the winner is God works through me in 2023, and submitted by no other than Reverend Bill. He won 2 years in a row. You should get a prize or something.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody. I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world seems to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
And now let's come together and turn in within. Let's turn in to the center of our being and allow our minds and our hearts to come together. And recognize that divinity that is within each one of us. And we know that we are each connected wherever we may be located. We are one in spirit, one in life, one in mind, and one in love. And as we listen to Spirit within and think of its perfection, we recognize that it is from this place of oneness that our service is a blessing. It's a blessing to each and every one of us, and for those at home as well. And I speak a word of thanks to all who make it possible for us to enjoy. I thank our Board of Trustees, our practitioners, our musicians, our ushers, the Coffee Fellowship team, the junior church, the children and teachers, our office staff, and special thanks to Reverend Bill Salisbury, our minister, and we know that he will bring a message of peace, joy, and love. Exactly what we need to hear today. And I bless our meeting today, and I know it's perfect and complete. And we're thankful and we're grateful for everyone here. And we just simply release this prayer knowing it is already answered and done. I'm Carol Riseling, a practitioner here at our center. And today I have a reading from the book Courage, Conviction, and Consciousness. 365 Days of Inspiration from the Women of New Thought. And this reading is from the Reverend Peggy Bassett. She was the minister at the Huntington Beach Church of Religious Science. Some of you may know her. And this is from one of her sermons that she gave there. And she says, "What does your future look like? Whatever you're thinking right now, your state of awareness is shaping your future. Is it what you want it to be? Many of us will be repeating our past. To change our experiences, we must change our internal awareness of who we are. A prayer or an affirmation will not change the content of our consciousness. We must engage the power within ourselves to create this change. Our attitudes and expectations have a lot to do with making this change in our life. We can acknowledge what happens to us as part of the unfoldment of who we are. Nothing that can happen to us is against us. Despite this fear, we are truly an extension of God, and we need to make this discovery and bring it forth. We have lived our lives from the surface level. There is no security in living on the surface of life. Security is found by turning within, communing and staying in touch with our inner voice, our inner power, and our inner creativity. That's the only place where we can make a difference in our future. We must focus on this inner search. We have a choice to live life as a battle to be fought, fearful and anxious with a lack of trust. But this is not the kind of living that will bring us joy. Our own attitude is what gets in the way. Ernest Holmes said, "Have no fear of tomorrow. Refuse to carry the corpse of a mistaken yesterday into your future." There is no future to be afraid of. We are free to look at life in a new way, to see that the source of our life is within us. Our future is infinite with possibilities. We must reclaim our lives from the circumstances around us, and then begin to regain our freedom to live our lives as we choose. And now please join me in prayer. And turning within, we recognize that that peace, that infinite love, that divine presence, that divine intelligence, that life source and that power is at the center of each of our beings. We know that God is the infinite source of this power and life that is within us, allowing us to make right choices and to live a life full of infinite good and infinite possibilities. We release all fear and doubt and connect to that power within and let it guide and guard us in every area of our lives. I know that we choose a future full of peace, love, prosperity, health, and happiness. And with gratitude, I release this prayer knowing it is already done. And so it is.
So I like that slogan. Was it God works through me in 2023? And I think this is a perfect song for that. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the sun or all of creations. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So you sing it with me. Oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Again, all that I must, one more time, all that I must do.
Debbie Ebert, Richard O'Hara, come on, let's hear it. Brightening up our Sunday, first thing in the morning, don't you know? Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to be here. And you know, I'm really glad you picked that song. That's such a great song. Use me. We have to allow God to use us. And the funny thing about it is, we do that by us using God. Kind of like a revolving door, isn't it? Use me, and you can use me by me using you. Because our overarching theme is New Beginnings, a how-to guide, because we're covering the first 4 chapters of Science of Mind, remember? So make sure to tune in for the next exciting installment next week, which is going to be, incidentally, how to use it. So we're going to learn how to do that, but first we're going to learn what it does. So just a quick recap. The first week Reverend John talked about the thing itself, that power, that presence, that one and only, that creative field that we live within, and that creative field, a part of which we are, and that we get to use in order to better everything about our lives and others. And we learned that thought is creative because we are in this creative field. We put our creative thought into that creative field and it creates. And we also talked about how conscious thought can direct subconscious thought. Okay, because as we all know, I mean, like the tip of the iceberg, you know, our conscious thought is sitting up there and all that subconscious thought. And sometimes I like to just fall back on that subconscious thought and say, I don't know what I was thinking. I would never consciously do or say something like that. Anybody else ever use that line? Because it's effective, makes me feel good. But no. That subconscious thought is there because I had somehow directed that. And the conditioning that I've received in my life has directed that. But the fact is, I can use my conscious thought to redirect that in a manner which I want. All right, what else did we learn? Week 2, the way it works. Now, that was only last week. We should remember the way it works. And it's just like that. It's that Spirit works for us by working through us. So although we're in this creative field, we can't just go sit on the sofa and expect that creativity, well, it's already within us. It already surrounds us. It already permeates our very soul. But it needs a little bit of direction. It needs us to use that creative thought that we have to make this world look like what we want it to look like. So, then we talked about how much of it can we use, because this potential, this field of possibilities, this divine mind that we get to access because there is no other mind to access, is infinite and eternal. But I suspect that probably we don't use it to its capability, but we can. The only thing that stops us from doing that is our own fear, our own holding ourselves back. We get circumscribed and contained, if you will. We get caged sometimes by the world working its charm, if you will, on us, rather than us working our charm on the world. Doesn't that happen sometimes? Sometimes it's just so much easier to, well, everybody else is doing it. And we've all used that in the past, and most often it hasn't worked out very well for us. So I'd like to I have a quote from a 20th century British philosopher, whom we all know, John Lennon, 1/4 of the Beatles. He said, "I'd rather let my spirit fly free than be caged by religion. Become a Buddha, not a Buddhist. Become a Christ, not a Christian. One implies an awakened state of consciousness, the other a dogmatic approach to life." So the way it works, and we're going to talk today about what it does, But the way it works is we have to give it the freedom to work, and we have to sometimes just get out of our own way in order to do that. And by getting out of our own way, I mean mostly, let's leave behind any and all thoughts of less than, not enough, lack, limitation. Let's leave them behind, because if we're carrying that baggage with us, let's pretend we're our own country. Would we allow somebody at the airport, for example, to come in carrying baggages that contained not enoughness, lack, limitation? No, we'd stop them right there and say, hey, turn around. You can't come here with that stuff. But that's what our life is about. So we want to make sure that in order to use this to its capability, in order to experience what it does, we want to make sure that we give our attention and our intention to doing just that. You know, there's a story from antiquity about an old sojourner who came across a person and asked, do you know how I can get to Mount Olympus? Well, it turns out the person he asked happened to be Socrates, because that fits so well with this story. But what Socrates said to him was, yes, I can tell you how to get to Mount Olympus. Just make sure that every step you take goes in that direction. How simple is that? So do we want to be happy? Do we want to be enlightened? Do we want to be free? Do we want to be spiritual? Do we want our awareness to go out into our world and make it glow with that presence, that divine presence that is us, that's within us? Simple. Just make sure that every step we take takes us in that direction. And we pretty much know when we're taking a step that doesn't take us in that direction, don't we? Sometimes, probably not you guys, but sometimes I'm already making up the excuse before I do or say something, because I know I shouldn't be, and I want to be covered. If I had something here from our founder. Well, let me first start right back at the very beginning of this chapter where it says what it does. You know, when Ernest Holmes, our founder, is talking about it. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, you can read that on your own. But what I do want to take from him is this. Because we're talking here about the gift of God. Are we not? The thing itself, the gift of God. That godliness that is ours because it is us. And he says the gift of God is the nature of God, the eternal givingness. God cannot help making the gift because God is the gift. We do not have to pray to God to be God. Have we done that? No, we don't have to. I'll get into that a little bit later, because there's one other thing that he said also. All the power of the universe is with you. Feel it, know it, and then act as if it were true. Don't we sometimes, we talk about this, right? Oh yeah, it's all God. It's all good. It's all God. I can direct my life. I can help you direct your life. We can direct everybody else's life. No. We've got to get past what John Lennon referred to as the dogma of the constrained religion, if you will, that we sometimes want to fall into. We have to talk about the truth of what we are. And the truth of what we are is exactly that. We are imbued with that divine presence. And in order for it to be of any value to us at all, we have to use it. Our divine selves, that spark of divinity that's within us. It's kind of like a baseball. It isn't of any value till it's thrown out on the field. That spirit within us that will allow us, that would in fact invented us, created us in order to use our divinity, isn't of very much value until we put it into play. And we put it into play by making every step we take go in that direction of that world that we want to see, that world we want to work for everybody. So, here's what it does. What it does, this thing itself, allows us to access all the good, all the joy, all the beauty, all the happiness, all the love, all the abundance of this world, of this universe. It allows us to access that. Once again, we were not put here empty-handed. We didn't make this trip with just our carry-on. Okay, we brought a whole wealth of stuff with us. We brought everything that life could possibly require of us for sustaining who we are and what we can do and how we can fulfill our purpose. It came with us when we embarked on this trip. Otherwise, wouldn't that seem kind of silly? We do not live in a chaotic world. We live in a very ordered world. And if you think about that, you have to agree with it. Everything is so well ordered. I love that thing about the butterfly flapping its wings in Argentina and creating a dust devil in Texas. Everything is so connected. It is so ordered. And that's what makes this able to work for us. That's what it does. It allows us to use this creativity, this creative process, to better our lives. So we have in our teaching that everything comes from, is made of, begins with love, and everything is directed by law. And we always talk, about those mechanical laws, those laws of nature, and they're ordered. They are an order. It's not random. The fact that we're held in place here by gravity, and it's not as if we could change these physical laws. Can we change them? No. And there's no difference in laws, whether they're spiritual or physical, or if there were any other type, whether they were like that. A law is a law is a law is a law. This is the way it works. And it's just like in our own societal law, ignorance of it is no excuse. We can't go rob a bank and then say, well, I didn't know it was illegal to do that. Try that out. Not going to work. Same thing with those physical laws that make this universe the ordered entity that it is. They are working, and they will continue to work, and they will work eternally and infinitely, whether we know about them or not. And we are part of them. We are within the confines, if you will, of those laws, whether we know it or not. So our job is to get to know it. To get to know it, figure out how it works, and use it for the purpose it was put here for us in the first place. And of course, we'll talk more about the use of it next week. But what it does has nothing to do with what we will it to do. Right? Because sometimes we say, well, where there's a will, there's a way. I think that's not a good saying. I think we should be saying, where there's a willingness, there's a way. If you planted a watermelon seed, and then a couple weeks later you changed your mind and decided you wanted a grapefruit tree, could you will that to change? No. If we plant one idea, and as it starts to grow, we want to change our mind about that idea, what do? We have to replace it with a different one. We have to put the new idea in place. That's like the thought. You can't think two opposing thoughts at the same time. If we want peace, we can't say, I'm going to have peace if I got to beat it out of you. I mean, how silly does that sound? You know, I can't have truth, love, and beauty and justice unless I apply myself in that direction, unless I have my intention and my attention on it to begin with. So what it does is it allows me to use it as it's working through or using me to do those things that should be done in order to have that kind of life that we want. So we don't change those laws. Those laws are always going to work the same way all the time. The thing that has to change if they're not working in our favor is simply our understanding of them. Our understanding and our use of them. You know, there's a bunch of books in the Bible. Now those aren't random either. They were carefully selected by the church fathers at the time. And there were many, many books more left out of the Bible than there were included in it. And one of those that was left out of it was what we now call the Lost Gospel of Thomas. And here's what he said. He said, recognize what is in your sight, and that which is hidden from you will become plain to you. We have to recognize what's in our sight. If we just walk through this world oblivious to really how it's working and what's going on, and we believe in things like kismet and chance and fate, and we don't understand that everything happens for a reason, and everything happens because a creative thought has put that out there. If we can't recognize what's in plain sight, how are we ever going to understand? Don't we say, I love this saying, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Well, the Lord is the life principle. The life principle, yes, kind of paradoxical. We live in a mystery. We live in a mystery because we have as yet become that good at involving ourselves in it and the understanding of it that we can't just sit down and map it out. So some things do seem mysterious to us, but there is no mystery in how any of these laws work. They work the same way all the time, every time, forever, and they work the same way for everybody. There's no such thing as a law that is a respecter of persons. If I drop my pencil, it's going to fall. If you drop your pencil, it's going to fall. Gravity doesn't like me or you better than the other, so it's going to work the same way all the time. That's why we can take the mystery out of this. The Lord works in mysterious ways. It doesn't work in mysterious ways at all. It works the same way all the time, every time. We have to adjust our thinking. We have to better our understanding so that we can work within the structure of how it's going to work so that we can make the best of everything that we do or say or want to achieve. The Bible also says something to the effect of, let us be known by our works. that just goes back to this initial thought that you can't make the world work by sitting on the sofa. We have to put each step in the direction of our goal, and if our goal is loving our neighbor as ourselves, creating a world that's harmonious and justice and honor and love and community and involvement of everybody and the betterment of everybody, we have to do it on purpose. We have to do it intentionally, because we're all some part human, some part divine, and sometimes we might run into somebody who's not quite, well, as far up on the divinity side as we think it would be conducive to a healthy planet. They're more on the human side, and sometimes that causes people just to do things that aren't really that good for the rest of us. But we have to understand that doesn't mean that there is no divinity within them. That just means that their understanding of the power they wield and the power they can wield and the good and the abundance and the prosperity and the joy and the beauty that they can access, they just haven't had an understanding of it yet. That's all. So use me, oh God. Use me, allow me to use you to flow through me. This is not a dammed up, stagnant vessel for spirit, for life, for anything. Because if it is, what's going to come forth from it? Think nothing. If I want something, if I want that life principle to be able to use me, to work through me, to allow me to radiate it back out into the world, I have to meaningfully, intentionally allow that to happen. And I do that by being open to that flow, by being open to being used by Spirit, to be open to being used by life, not just sitting in a corner watching it go by. That was more like watching a tennis match, wasn't it? But you get what I'm talking about. It was Howard Thurman, I have a quote from. He says, "Do you believe that life is really dynamic? That it isn't quite finished yet? That not only are you involved always in circling series of potentials, but that you are potential. You, potential." So he's telling us that we have to, in order for it to do what it does, we have to allow it to do what it does. We are that potential. We always talk about we live in this field of potential. The reason we live in this field of potential, we're not like somebody threw a rock into a pond. That's not how we live in this field. We live in this field of potential because we are that potential. We have to get to the understanding that that's the case. And once we do, there's no end to the number of things that we can do with it. I got one more quote because I thought it was really great before we go. And that's from Martin Luther King Jr., because after all, we are right in the middle of this peace thing. And he said, "Use me, God. Show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do, and use it for a purpose greater than myself." That's what this thing itself does. It's what it does. It allows us to use it by working through us to reach our potential, to be our highest and best self, to give what we have to give, which is that divinity within us, and to help take every step we take in the direction of Mount Olympus, or in the direction of that world that works for everybody, that we're always so eager to have unfold, to have just flop into our arms. It's not going to just flop into our arms. We have to put it into our arms. And that's how we do. We do it by using this thing itself, by using that power and that presence, and allowing it to live through us. Because just think, if everybody had that power and presence living through them all the time, where would we be then? Where would we be? So I just want you to just join me in this short prayer, that we are aware that our divinity, that divinity that courses through our veins, that is impervious, that fills up every iota of us, that divinity is not an abstraction. That divinity is real. That divinity is what we truly are. And when we bring it forth, when we embody what is ours from God, when we accept it and put it to use and put it out there in a meaningful way, when we practice the principle of our own divinity, when we become one with the allness of God and share that with others, that's when we know what it does. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, as we say. We know what it does because we see the direct result of it. We cannot see the principle, but we see the direct result, and we see it everywhere we look, every minute, every time our eyes are open. And when they are not, we still see it with the rest of our body. We see it with that eye of our heart, with that eye of our soul. And it's us who allows it to do what it does. Knowing that we have this power, knowing we have this potential, this capability, just makes me so grateful. It fills my heart with gratitude. And I just say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for this. Thank you for the thing itself. Thank you for the way it works. Thank you for what it does. And I just release this word into the law, knowing that that law allows it to be what it is and to do what it does. I just let this go, knowing that we are in the full flow of this divinity, each of us. And so it is. This is our time to shine our light, to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, God, and for this we are grateful. Thank you for your continued financial support, as well as emotional and loving, heartfelt support, because it's that financial support that keeps us going. And for those who are not in attendance but watch this on video and continue to hit that donate button on the website and send in their tithes, thank you. So let's just know that we bless these gifts, these tithes, these offerings, knowing they are given from the central core of who we are, which is God made manifest on this plane. We send them forth to do their good work in this community and in the world at large, with no strings and no conditions, and so it is.
In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my hand, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. This is how I start my day. Knowing good is on the claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. 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 Well, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing.
Wow, Debbie Eber, Richard O'Hara, you are a blessing. And so are you, and so are you. Everybody is a blessing. But we are blessed that you're our blessing this morning, so thank you very much. So, let's have everybody get up. And let's just know something together right here. Let's just know that something marvelous is happening through me right now.
Something marvelous is happening through me right now.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called love.
It's this thing called love.
It's this thing called law.
It's this thing called law.
And it's what they all do together
And it's what they all do together
that make it work through me.
that make it work through me.
I accept this.
I accept this.
I enjoy this.
I enjoy this.
And I am grateful for it.
And I am grateful for it.
Thank you, God, in me.
Thank you, God, in me.